really troubling. Anyways, this directly leads into a concept that I have been very worried about lately. Nihilism. What do you think about nihilism?
What am I supposed to think about nihilism? Or what do you... what do I think about nihilism? I mean, it's a philosophy.
Are you a nihilist?
I wouldn't describe myself as
I wouldn't say you're a nihilist either, no. But nothing matters is what nihilism is. Like, just nothing matters. There's no point to anything. And that's what I kind of want to ask my sister. I'm like, okay, so you're not really into politics anymore, so nothing matters then. Like, she can be a Christian and not... And it still doesn't make sense how you cannot not care about millions of real-life people, like immigrants or minorities, and be a Christian. That doesn't make any sense. So, if you're going to say to hell with politics, then really nothing matters. Like, I mean, to say that there is no God, then nothing matters. But that's more of a philosophical thing. Politics are at least real. If anything's real. The whole universe could be all in my imagination. That is another philosophy. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of, like, the mind is doing a lot of jumping here to if this, then this conclusion. So I'm kind of drawing your attention to that process, that perhaps there's some wiggle room in there. Because I'm kind of envisioning someone who might say that they're not into politics and yet still, like, participate in the voting system. They don't necessarily, pay attention to debates like tonight or some of these larger media spectacles, but they still care about certain things and that sort of thing.
Ooh, actually, this is not on my list, but gun violence is something that I've been kind of debating with my sister, because her and her husband have a bunch of guns. Like, my brother-in-law is a hunter, but he's a responsible gun owner. He's one of the good guys with a gun, for all intensive purposes, if there's such a thing as a good guy with a gun. What is a myth would be good guys with guns stop bad guys with guns. That's not how guns really work. You just don't simply have the gun handy enough when the bad guy with the gun shows up, unless you're carrying around your gun all the time. But as a Christian, I think that you should completely surrender all violence. Surrender it. Give it up. Like, God is your protection. Jesus says if someone slaps you, you let them slap you on the other cheek as well. I mean, let God be your protection in the universe. Because now this goes back to politics. Do you know what the number one killer of children in the United States is? The number one cause of death for children. Guns. Which is such a sad, pathetic, frankly, statistic. Because children don't buy guns. They can't use guns. They don't make the guns. They don't sell the guns. But yet they're the victims of guns. Now, is whether they're shooting each other or adults accidentally shoot them or whatever. However, the situation, at the end, you have a dead child because of guns. So, it's sort of a messed up. Like, if there was any other industry in the country that was killing children at this enormous rate, we would shut it down. Like, if toys were killing children at this rate, we would shut it down, right?
Right.
Gun violence, it's just so senseless. Now, I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and I'm responsible partly for untold numbers of deaths, like in Afghanistan. And now, as a Christian, I put that behind me. I mean, I have to. It still weighs very heavily on me. But for my sister to flippantly believe guns are good, not participate in politics. And the thing that really bugs me about her is that I have a 16-year-old nephew, right? With their son, and they don't want me playing violent video games with him, like killing zombies in video games. Now that is something I do love. Virtual guns, love them, love them, love them. I mean, give me 1,000,000 zombies to kill, oh, I'll be happy all day long. Okay, but those are video games, right? That's not real. And I can clearly distinguish between the real. Because I like killing zombies does not mean I would ever, well, I would obviously never pick up a gun and shoot somebody.
Yeah. And the research supports that violent video games don't lead to violent action and aggression out there. Like there's a lot of research.
So I don't think I can be friends with my sister anymore. The things are building up where I want to be a positive influence in her life and in her kids' lives. And if we just disagree on everything. Anyways, let's circle back to nihilism. I've been meditating on it. And quite frankly, it's not that helpful. Like, to believe that nothing matters is not very helpful. I don't find it, like, yes, it makes sense that nothing matters, but then what do you do with that? There's no real good direction to go if you conclude, if that becomes your worldview, that nothing matters. So that leads into hedonism, which I think that's the next natural step from nihilism is hedonism, just the pure pursuit of pleasure. You know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not the answer. Like, I mean, I guess we could go on and on philosophically why hedonism is not a good thing.
And there could be philosophers who think hedonism is the best thing.
Well, yes. They're not Christians, though, obviously. It's contradictive to Christianity in almost every way. Like, so it's interesting that you could say a philosopher would think hedonism is a good thing, but they would not be a Christian at all if you really think that just pursuing pleasure is the point of life. Now, I guess in a big scale of things, well, part of Christianity is sacrifice, right? You sacrifice your own pleasure now, so, for, the future. Whether you give God directly your tithe, which is a sacrifice, or, you don't have as good of a time now, so you can have a good time later, which is ultimately the point of life as far as a Christian goes, is you are surrendering and sacrificing your pleasure now so you can have eternal pleasure later.
Right.
For eternity. And okay, hold on. So
perhaps Christianity is hedonistic.
It's sort of, except it requires sacrifice. Hedonism doesn't really consider sacrifice.
That's immediate.
Right, it's more immediate. Yeah. All right, so I do have a point to this, all of this, by the way. I was just guessing at numbers and figures, pulling the puzzle apart. Questions of science and